Hello and welcome to this very special discussion on transforming the oil and gas industry in Kuwait, hosted in partnership with GBM Kuwait. I'm Ramia Faraj, and it gives me great pleasure to be your moderator for this session. Now, Kuwait's economy is predominantly driven by the oil and gas sector, which accounts for around 92% of its export revenues. With a goal to amplify its oil and gas production volume over the next 10 years, the sector has been investing heavily in advanced technologies and innovative digital solutions to increase output, improve efficiency, and minimize costs. Today, we gather an incredible panel of industry experts to discuss how technology innovations can not only empower production capabilities, but also optimize operations. Allow me to introduce Dr. Reem Al-Shammari, Team Leader, Corporate Solutions, Corporate IT Group, Kuwait Oil Company. Ahmed Safar, Team Leader, IT Team, Kuwait Gulf Oil Company. Anaam Al-Jenaa, Team Leader, Corporate IT Operations, Kuwait Oil Company. Shoaib Niyazi, Industry Leader, Energy Sector, IBM Middle East and Africa. And Wasim Sulaiman, Country GM Kuwait, GBM. Thank you so much for being with us once again. Now, Dr. Al-Shammari, I'd like to start by asking you to please share your thoughts on the outlook for Kuwait's oil and gas industry and elaborate on KOC's digital transformation journey, which has really helped to accomplish optimum efficiency and output.
Thank you so much, Ramia. At the beginning, I would love to thank you and the Forbes Middle East team for having us and showcasing the transformation journey and the success stories that we have in the oil sector and specifically in KOC and my colleagues from KOC. So by shedding light on our transformation, I have been fortunate enough to be involved in various transformations, but we need to clearly explain and state that our transformation has started back in 1985. Like you have just reflected and stated that as Kuwait Oil Company and as a country that depends on GDP majorly on the oil production, our Kuwait Oil Company contributes to the national GDP on more than 92%, and that makes us as a national critical infrastructure entity, where again the technologies and the transformation on all of these applications will enable us to go and align with our strategic objectives, which is thriving toward excellence in operations, as well as enabling our top leadership and management and having the right decisions with utilizing all of these new oil, as we call it, the data by having it incorporated and well integrated through all its applications. So if we look specifically, when did our digital journey start? It's back in 1985, and we have initiated ever then a sequence of initiatives where different technologies, different projects has been initiated and interlinked as we go on. So it's a sequence of success stories where each success story has led from the outcomes of that and proven that the technology is here to enable the business, to empower the business, and to lead it to the next era. With the COVID-19, the pace became much faster, and we start hearing the digital transformation more often between all our colleagues and the industry partners. So we need to keep with the pace and make it even better by utilizing these data into our predictive analytics, into actionable insights and workflow solutions by combining the trust of these technologies and the data scientists and transform the way to get and communicate our targets with our stakeholders, with our business partners as well. That's in a nutshell.
An incredible 30-year almost journey. Mr. Safar, can you share your thoughts on the future of Kuwait's oil and gas sector? I mean, how will digital transformation really foster growth and development?
What I like to first to thank you for this invitation. Kuwait oil sector started the evolution of digitalizing maybe 2 decades back. The focus at the beginning was on automating and digitalizing the admin work, mainly finance, HR, and commercial processes and things around that. We now going to a new generation of digitalization, where robotics, AI, and other leading technology are getting involved in this kind of transformation. We have a new generation of manpower and resources that looks more focused to observe technology, and they are eager to use the technology in day-to-day activity. That's starting from the simple point of accessing the office to do day-to-day work of operation, oil production, and even enhancement of oil fields and oil operation. In the next 10, 20 years, the new generation will be more demanding on those technology as the new generations and the new resources much smarter than what used to be and the way other people, the old generation are used to work. Now people are more attached to portables, are more attached to mobility, are more depending and on technology to help them to resolve problems and ease the day-to-day activity. I think everybody would wake up in the morning and look to his mobile as the first point of touch to technology. So imagine how things work inside the field now. People are more attached and related to technology. Also, management decisions used to be much slower with a moving market with a lot of challenges and a lot of changing factors, starting from geopolitics to economics. Decision-making need more detailed tools, more information, more depth before they take decisions. So technology starts serving this, and this change in the technology helps the business from senior level, from operator level to communicate and take the decision collaboratively, not like the 10, 20 years back where there is a big difference, the big gap between the operators fields and the senior management. So the changes will happen soon. More technology will be in the field, and those technology will feed the information to a higher level management, to the C-level management in the future.
So keeping everyone connected and everyone working from the same platform. Now, Ms. Al-Jenaa, could you please highlight for us how the adoption of cloud has really helped KOC to amplify production and at the same time to minimize operational costs?
Thank you, Rania, for inviting me for such a meeting. KOC aims to enhance both the core and corporate business through implementing best practices and scenarios and the latest technology. So we started our journey to the cloud adoption in 2019, which leads to a great potential and added business value to KOC by, as you mentioned, minimizing the cost and improving the IT operation in which the cloud services help to deploy infrastructure quickly and with a minimal cost and with low risk. Moreover, the business initiatives not delayed by IT capacity limitation. As you know that each time if we want to avail any, let's say, new technology, we have to go through the tender cycle, which takes around like 2 years. But now with these capabilities, I think it's enhanced, and now our situation is much better. And moving services closer to the edge and the end user. Also, in terms of minimizing the cost as well by shift from underutilized on-premises hardware and smaller size cloud infrastructure as a service, and ramping up down of servers based on our needs and the business need. Also, this impact the total cost of ownership, which reduced significantly in the 2 years back. So I think this is the impact, how the cloud, it minimizes the operating costs.
Thank you for your insights. Now, Mr. Niyazi, how do you think technologies like AI and machine learning and cloud services really enable the oil and gas sector to achieve optimum efficiency through process automation?
Sure. Thank you very much for providing the opportunity to join this session. So if you look at the broader trends, right, the commodity cycle, the capital planning challenges, and the increasing operational risk in the oil and gas industry are all the factors that makes it more important than ever to make smarter and more efficient decisions. AI provide benefits across entire value chain. In case of exploration, armed with AI, operators can better understand their reservoirs, access values, and a minimum geoscience risk. Operator can use AI and machine learning to make better exploration and production decisions. In case of one of our customer, we have seen 75% reduction in time spent by geoscience team reading and searching through data source and reducing analysis time from 6 weeks to 3 days. Now, in case of drilling, AI has proven to be very effective at improving the well design, drilling execution, and completion execution, customized as per the geology of the area. Producers can maximize ROI by every well by optimizing well placement and well spacing to maximize resource recovery, design well to optimize recovery and total cost, and predictive subsurface risk. In case of production, accurate daily, monthly, lifetime well production forecast are critical for a successful production. Machine learning can help to optimize flow rates, pressures, other variables for maximum lifetime well productions. Plus, anomaly detection capabilities allow operators to anticipate well issues in advance before they cut off the production. Now, in case of process and refining, operators are using AI for predictive maintenance and maintenance optimization. They can model and quantify the risk of failure for key equipment and critical part during the maintenance shutdown to make more informed decision about scope, reduce total shutdown cost, and improve asset reliability. For one of our customer, maintenance optimization has enabled approximately $400 million per year in maintenance saving. For the sustainability in the focus, ESG, AI, and analytics solutions are helping oil and gas companies with the accurate calculation of scope 1, 2, 3 greenhouse gas emissions and recording and tracking of progress toward decarbonization goal. Now, digitalization of well, pipeline, refineries has significantly increased the oil and gas companies' exposure to cyber attack. An effective AI-based security solution that holistically addresses an oil and gas company's end-to-end security exposure is critical for the long-term success and resilience of the organization. So today, the companies that effectively leverage AI have a distinct advantage over other operators that lack an accurate understanding of their reservoirs, operating processes, and producing assets.
Thank you, Mr. Niyazi. Now, Mr. Sulaiman, how are GBM solutions really empowering the digital transformation journey of Kuwaiti oil and gas companies to achieve operational efficiency while increasing production output at reduced costs?
First of all, thank you, Reem, for this event. And as a GBM, we have been working with the oil industry for more than 20 years. Specifically with different key companies in the oil sector in Kuwait, KOC, KPC, KGOC, and KPC. And digital transformation for us is basically a journey that are being implemented to not only enhance operational efficiency, but also to increase the production output and reduce costs. Through that digital transformation, there are three main areas in digital transformation that we focus with the key companies in the oil sector. One of them is basically what we call the customer experience. The operation that we do mainly on changing the interface of the clients to the oil companies. This is a key in the transformation, where you bring basically the oil customers into a closer look from a technology perspective, so they can have access to the different channels of oil traders. And that's basically is very important for the oil industry to have a one interface where they can basically, through that interface, they can communicate with the partners and distributors, and basically can collaborate all the contents through one channels. The second module basically is working on transforming on the business model. How basically operations, whether it is in the back end or in the upstream or the downstreams, we have worked different solutions throughout the years in the transformation, in the business model transformation. For example, we have done through Maximo, they can now basically do a predictive maintenance where they can sustain the operation for a longer time and avoid any downtime, because it has been calculated that any downtime, it costs a lot of money for the oil industry and therefore for the government. Therefore, the business model, we have adopted a lot of IoT technology and intelligence into that business model in different upstream, downstream, or in the back end in order to enhance the operations. The third part, which is basically, we call it the operational processes. And operational processes, it could be from technology perspective where we use, we have been evolving in the technology, if I would say, the processing power and the storage power and the cloud, what we call hybrid cloud. And today we're working with KOC on a different projects that related to the infrastructure, in which basically we build a hybrid cloud for them to reduce the overall cost and be able to decide and make sure which application they want to have it on-premise and which application they want to put it on the cloud. So this flexibility in the technology today will help them out basically to improve their operational and reduce their costs. And another area of automation is basically in the processes, in the back-end processes, where basically we have developed an applications using IBM technology to automate the processes for I think around 17 departments, and this will enhance the operations and reduce the cost as well. Finally, we are working towards building what I call Kuwait Oil Knowledge Database System, and I think data, because data is the key for any transformation, and the future is all about the data, because all the information resides within the data. And then this is basically very important topics that we are working with the oil sectors to start consolidating the data from different sectors, what I say, the upstream, downstream, or the back end, in order to extract information out of it.
A broad range of services, but customer experiences, transforming the business model and operational processes, obviously key there. Now, Dr. Al-Shammari, how can the adoption of innovative approaches and emerging technologies like AI, digital twins, and cloud solutions really enable organizations to manage large amounts of data effectively?
Very valuable and important question. I would also reflect to the answers from my colleagues here, where they have again stated and highlighted that data is the future. So we need to make best of these cloud computing and all the emerging technologies that we have now experiencing and will come, because knowing the IT, it's a very accelerated industry where we keep having technology. By the time we start adopting the technology, another technology just bursts up and with more features to offer. So what we need to look at is, like Mr. Reem said, by utilizing the data and making it more visually available. We had these data for years and decades, if I may say, but it was in silos of islands. So what we need really to look at is how we can intelligently and strategically start connecting these silos of islands of data that will actually give us the competitive advantage and the state-of-art use and benefit from such utilization by taking the best of that, and also by investing more in the machine learning and AI, as we have said, where they will be effectively being embedded in our day-to-day decisions. And I believe we'll reach to a stage where our users and our employees will no longer know that that's an ML, because it will be embedded in the background when they start guiding them toward the decision making. And to also highlight one more thing, we have been living, as I said, Ramya, and experiencing this digital transformation for the past maybe 40 years, since 1980s. The question is, since we're now all concerned about the digital transformation, is what's next? What's the next phase of digital transformation? So like Mr. Shoaib has highlighted, I believe the edge of IoT edge is the next phase, where we will start looking at these sensors in the oil fields, start communicating the data, and start feeding our data stores and having more intelligence on the edge, where we'll be seeing more intelligence and into communicating at the T4 sensors, which is something that's still in the phase of being still a new technology, where we have seen the high added. One last thing is that we need to address all of that with an innovative mindset. And digital is also transformation our mindset. So you see all of our panelists here, they have been also that transformation of their mindset, where we have shifted that the importance and of these digital journeys and these digital environment is a must. And we became an advocate for that. Otherwise, if we do not, walk the talk, then our followers and changing the culture of adapting this transformation will be a lost cause. So again, we need to start also transforming the minds of our people, our cultures, to go from the old school and start giving them, the tools and the gadgets to start manipulating and utilizing these data and making it more visual, where you will be starting seeing even your users very much eager when we start giving them an AI, feature or service, and say, Dr. Reem, can we utilize that one on the other HR, like Mr. Ahmed said, Safar, or on the financial report? Can we really trigger that? So you will see them, tech hunger, where they want to utilize all of these features and taking us as their guiders into that journey. So we need to do it very, carefully, very strategically, and we need to do it as a group, as a teamwork, because again, transformation is a culture and a corporate behavior rather than just IT or let's say tech groups. We need to have it as a business, but business is our partners and we're here to enable their business.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, Mr. Safar, how have AI capabilities and cloud-led digital transformations really empowered productivity at KGOC? I mean, is there a digital mindset at KGOC, as Dr. Reem said, was so important?
Thank you. We believe that change is the only constant. And in KGOC, we started back in 2014 as an early adapter to the cloud. Back in 2014, cloud was newly introduced. KGOC had a geographical access challenge. We had also a resource challenge, that the size of IT compared to the size of company was much smaller. We took those two challenges and we elected to go to cloud back in 2014, starting from the collaboration tools in Office 365. In 2016, we moved our financial services to cloud, and in 2019 and 20, we moved all our HR services to the cloud. Currently, 88% of our admin services are done on the cloud. That include HR, finance, planning is also just been moved to the cloud in the past 20 days. We believe that cloud is an enabling tool that will help us to accommodate the challenge that we have. And we have invested in this heavily in the past 10 years. What I can say, the cloud is an enabler more than a smart way of doing things. It's an enabler platform. There is new tools which are coming in the cloud that helping the businesses to be more smart, more agile, and faster in adoption. That include AI, that include neural network, robotics, BPM, business process management tools. Those tools are now more in the cloud. Now with Internet of Things, IoT, is being also part of the reality. There is a lot of changes happening on the industrial platforms where IOs were now communicating more to the manufacturer and to the supply chain automation. So things are changing toward more digitalization of the fields, more digitalization of the office environment, more digitalization of the process. These kind of digitalization are interacting. In the past 10 years, when we speak about digitalization, we speak about silos, where you will build a system by itself and wait for this system to obtain inputs and outputs. In the new era, the things are changed where we have all the equipment are communicating together. We are more standardized now. Protocols are more mature. Technologies are all going to adopt a certain standards, which helping the technologies to communicate to each other. Vendors are competing against releasing features, not technologies. In the past, we were focusing on releasing technologies, a new technology, a new protocol that can do more. Now, the vendors mainly are focusing on releasing a new functionality using an adaptive, standardized platforms. That's changing the business, how it's interact. You can run the same server now on any cloud provider. You can run the same technology on any service provider. So what is the difference is the level of technology that they provide is in the features that they provide, in the how fast they are provisioning. So technology is getting changed toward more business mature. The technology is helping the businesses to be more faster and more agile in releasing the services. This what helped KGOC to change the infrastructure. And now we are able to serve our users across the board in Saudi Arabia, people who are during the COVID who were locked down. We were able to serve them while they are sitting at home. They were able to access their business application and they were able to do their work. That's include from file level to a very high sophisticated BI applications. So this kind of environments really helps the businesses to change toward more collaborative. Also, it's changing the real culture. Like in 10 years back, working remotely from home was not an option in many businesses. Now, even company businesses, such state-owned companies like K companies, they were not thinking in this direction. During COVID, this culture transformation happened, and now a lot of businesses and one of our K companies are going toward work from home environment. So the businesses are changing because of the new challenges. Businesses are changing because the availability of technology at home. Businesses are changes because of features. Businesses are much more agile because of the way technology are provisioned in the current atmosphere.
And the technology is ultimately facilitating this change as well. I'm sure Ms. Al-Jenaa would agree. And Ms. Al-Jenaa, in what ways has cloud computing technology really facilitated the adoption of innovative technologies such as AI and machine learning? And how beneficial has it really been to scale data management and storage across your upstream, your midstream, and your downstream operations?
As per our K company, we have 2040 IT strategy. One of the IT initiatives are created to have artificial intelligence and machine learning incorporation. So we developed the strategic capabilities to adopt innovation and faster implementation and deployment of emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence and even the machine learning. So with the introduction of some technologies like the Spark and the Spark streaming and the high performance data analytic provide enhanced performance due to the in-memory functionalities. And as you all know, machine learning and deep learning needs a massive CPUs and GPUs resources. So the cloud computing facilitates the optimum usage of such resources by proper allocation of those resources for the application at the time of need. In regard to the second part of the questions, so the beneficial, how it's beneficial has been to scale the data management. Actually, my role in Kuwait Oil Company is to avail and sustain up-to-date infrastructure, and we can say that it's a cloud enabler. So this question may be answered by my colleagues who have a direct communication with the upstream project, but I'm sure it has a vital positive impact, which can be recognized through the production report.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm sure somebody else will address that question. It has definitely been very beneficial to scale data management and storage across upstream, midstream, and downstream operations. Perhaps we will hear a little bit more about it later, but let me turn to Mr. Niyazi now to ask him how IBM is really enabling oil and gas companies to realize their digitalization goals, and what's the real plan of action in terms of continued support for an even more digitally enabled future?
Sure. So if you see, oil and gas industry is defined by the asset-intensive operations with complex value chain and the extensive production asset resource data that are collected and processed across their drivers' operational environment. A typical offshore production platform can have more than 40,000 data tags. The ability to extract data from diverse production facilities, supporting systems and application is of fundamental importance. Now, IBM enable oil and gas companies to accomplish their digitalization goals with our data, AI, and analytics software solutions, with the AI ladder as an approach for journey to AI. The 4 steps of AI ladders are collection, which makes data simple and accessible, organize, which create a business-ready analytical foundation, analyze, which build and scale AI with trust and transparency, and infuse, which operationalize AI throughout the business across multiple departments and within various processes, drawing on predictions, automations, and optimization. While AI ladder is an approach, the data fabric is an architecture we enable. It is an architecture that connects to the right data at the right time, make it available to the right people from anywhere and anytime. In addition to the core data and AI solution I mentioned, we also bring software solutions which are enabled by data and AI, like enterprise performance management tools, which helps in planning, budgeting, forecasting, business intelligence, reporting, closing, and consolidation. Enterprise asset performance management tools, which help in shifting asset maintenance strategies from preventive to predictive and prescriptive maintenance. Environment intelligence suite, which apply AI for sustainability and ESG. And cybersecurity, analytics, intelligence response, and orchestration tool to handle threats from both IT and OT domain. In addition to that, we bring business automation solutions which help oil and gas companies to digitalize and automate their core operations. And we bring private, hybrid, or multi-cloud deployment of industry solutions like exploration and production environment enabled by Red Hat OpenShift to significantly expand access for customers. With Schlumberger, we also delivering the first hybrid cloud implementation of the Open Subsurface Data Universe, ODU data platform. Now, see, oil and gas companies are using Watson AI discovery, natural language processing, natural language understanding, conversational AI capabilities to reduce 30% of the time and experts spend searching for information by up to 75% by augmenting their ability to understand complex, high-value documents needed for business decision and providing immediate access to concise, trusted, and personalized information. IBM customers like Woodside Energy have built solutions like Field Workforce Assistant, Energy Engineering Assistant, Energy Drilling Assistant, Health and Safety Assistant using these AI services. Now looking at the more digitally enabled future, IBM has developed IBM Quantum Platform, IBM Q, which is being also used in the computation of machine learning algorithms. Due to the computational advantage of quantum computing, quantum AI can help achieve results that are not possible to achieve with the classic computers using CPUs and GPUs today. Oil and gas companies like ExxonMobil, British Petroleum, Woodside Energy is working with IBM for the advancement of quantum computing via cross-domain research.
It's fascinating. We would love to hear more about quantum computing a little bit later on. Now, Mr. Sulaiman, we heard earlier about GBM's solutions. So as a key solution provider, how can your advanced and automated technology really help companies to improve their upstream, their downstream, and their back-end operations?
Yes, there are basically two areas that we are focusing with our oil companies. One is basically what we call information architecture, which I called it, knowledge, Kuwait oil knowledge database system, where basically we need to structure the data and consolidate the data and build the data in a different views to get to capture the information out of it. And the other part basically is what we call implementing the artificial intelligence, because AI, there are different components of AI. AI could be an assistant, AI could be a manager, AI could be a peer, AI could be basically what you call assistant, and it helps decision-making to be taken based on the information that is being captured from the data. So to start with, basically the data, I spoke mainly about the data. The data is very important where we need to consolidate from upstream, downstream, and back end. And I basically have an analogy or a model, which I call basically a tree structure. So imagine we have 3 trunks within a tree, and each trunks represent upstream, downstream, or a back end. And those trunks basically have branches. And branches are the sections within those upstream or downstream or back office. And basically the leaves are the data that are being captured from these sections. And the AI will be the fruit that they will capture out of this. But in nutshells, basically it's very important to build a data, a knowledge-based database system in order to start building AI at the top of this, because we say there is no AI without IA, that's the analogy. And therefore, the AI is very important to extract the data, the required data, and provide the information out of it. So for example, we have done with the downstream, where we have captured, we built for KOC a data center. They have stored all their seismic data that shows basically the data related to the exploration and excavation, and those are very important data. Yet we need to start building information out of this data. The second part, basically, we worked with upstream, where we have in the downstream, where we have basically on the oil rig pumps, and the pumps where they extract the oil. If the pumps fails, the oil production will stop. Therefore, what we have done with the oil sector is we put some sensors on the pumps itself, and those sensors basically send data, whether it's a mechanical problems or heat or whatever, so they can predict the failure of the pumps prior to its failure. And this will save the oil industry a lot of money. That's what we call IoT, basically, here where we use IoT, in the part of automation. And the back end, again, we did basically automation of the processes, like Mr. Safar was mentioning, which is about the ACM or BBM. And then basically the ECM will provide the content, the data, all the data, that they have through content that are being scanned and being archived, and then those data can be accessed. And then we have the process automation at the top. Now, the next step is basically we need to go, start building AI, what we call NLP, natural language processing, where basically we can access the content within, those data that are available and provide informations regarding, for example, contract expiry or maintenance expiry or any transactions that helps, reduce costs and improve the operations. So again, that's where the AI is being, part of the AI being implemented. And like I said, machine language is something that basically needs to be identified, what type of machine language we need to have, whether we want the machine language to be an assistant for decision making, or we want the machine language to be a peer, where it takes the responsibility of executing the task, or we want the machine language to manage the entire cycle of operations. So this is, of course, it's a journey. We are working with the oil industry on trying to identifying the area that needs to be, more intelligence and applying those intelligence at the top. In parallel, we're working on the data side on that. One last point I just want to mention about the cloud, it's very important. The Red Hat OpenShift, the team has mentioned about Red Hat OpenShift. And this is very important infrastructure which will enable the oil industry to run a containerization on the cloud and on-premise. So the client today can decide whether he wants to put his application, part of the application on the cloud or on-prem, depending on the security and many factors, basically. So Red Hat OpenShift gives that flexibility for the oil industry or for all the industries, basically, to run in what we call hybrid cloud environment.
Thank you, sir. Now, Dr. Al-Shammari, from your experience as a global thought leader in the cybersecurity industry and as the former and first female Chief Information Security Officer in Kuwait's oil sector, congratulations on that accomplishment, by the way. Could you please highlight for us the cybersecurity measures and the capabilities really built to protect and secure KOC's digital transformation initiatives, and also the partnerships that were required with businesses to avoid any future vulnerabilities?
So being the first female, this wasn't an easy job at all, especially leading a very critical job like securing a nation state critical infrastructure. And that takes the whole teamwork in order for us to succeed. So what we have done is when we in KOC started building our cybersecurity journey, we have enabled the collaboration between all teams rather than just seeing it as a silo or a task by itself. We have also built with the, of course, the huge support from our leadership by believing that cybersecurity is an enabler and a critical pillar in the digital transformation journeys that we have been embracing. They also helped and supported cybersecurity to be looked at and involved at the early stages. We called it as stage 0. And that was also one of the success factors where the proper design of huge projects that we have and solutions has been securely being implemented and launched. So what we have done, whether it was on a KOC level or even at an oil sector, because KOC has been leading the cybersecurity of the journey of the oil sector, where we have defined, and that's another success story which I'm very much proud of, we have defined a unified framework of cybersecurity capabilities for our oil sector, which we all have the same rule or to measure, to evolve, and again to share our knowledge and lessons where we can help each other as sister companies to build these capabilities within our sector, and again to be able on a yearly basis by our management to be measured and to be again questioned and challenged why our targets are not met or why we did not even exceed these targets. So it's a journey. I always say that to our people, it's a journey. It's not just about an initiative or a project. It's also about raising the awareness. And I keep giving that example to our, business, management and leadership. That imagine that you invest in building a very high, defensive castle. And just one night, one of the residents of that castle just feel, hot, and he opens that window to get a cold breeze, and he sleeps. That window that he has opened with good intention has, jeopardized the security and the investment that you have invested on a corporate and enterprise level, where that window and that castle by itself is always under the radar of the adversaries and the threat actors, and they will take that small mistake to jeopardize and to try to compromise the security and operations of the company. Another aspect that we have built within our cybersecurity journey within KOC and oil sector is to focus on the resilience. So it's no longer a question, will we be attacked or not? That is no longer even we think about it. Our question is how resilient we are to pick up from that attack and to quickly initiate our operation without the disruption, or even if we have that, minimize it to the least. And of course, again, when you look at the OT and operation technology and the asset themselves, we always look at the safety of our people, because we know that cybersecurity, and that's something that we need all to be aware of, have a physical arm when it comes to the operational environment, because they can actually alter safety systems and they can jeopardize people's lives by and catastrophe can happen. So a very success stories we have lived and experienced in our KOC as well as the oil sector, where many initiatives have been initiated successfully and collaboratively. And again, when it comes to cybersecurity, it's a journey where we all need to work together. We shouldn't be working it alone. And alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, that has happened successfully in our oil sector. And it's still going on. As I said, it's a journey and something that we always build upon, whether it was from a culture or even from operational and our behaviors as personnel and employees at this.
So really preempting any potential threats along with your partners before those threats arrive. Now, Mr. Safar, how will technologies and digital tools really play a pivotal role in collecting and storing and analyzing data? And how can this help to mitigate risks?
Cybersecurity is a collaborative work, and risk association with cybersecurity is one of the risks. When we speak about data collection and collecting and building your data warehouse, we speak about collecting huge amount of data and different type of data. Those data requires a lot of attention when we come to confidentiality, integrity, and accountability, where cybersecurity is part of it. Also, BI, business intelligence, and accessibility is a very important part of it. New technologies are much better in data processing and the ability to generate focused output for the users. That's output related to business decisions. And the new technology is more even able to generate output related to operational decisions. When I speak about operational, I can say open a valve or close a valve of oil, that to that level. new technologies are getting more deep in the operational side, and that's increasing the risks associated with cyber attacks. That's also increasing the risk associated with technology's failure, and while trying to reduce the human error factor. So when we speak about implementing technology, we are speaking about reducing the risk of human errors and increasing the risk associated with technology failure. And also we increase the risk associated with cybersecurity. In general, K companies have built a strategical plan to ensure a high resilience. And also we focus on the human capital to increase their level of awareness and their ability to manage risk associated with cyber and disaster recovery. That was done long year back. Dr. Reem is part of this great team to boost such knowledge in the environment of the K companies. We were pushing knowledge about how to manage risk associated with cybersecurity, how also to manage risk associated with disaster recovery and business continuity. Those kind of risks are unavoidable in any business. So if you go to businesses worldwide, every business will have its own risks. However, in the Middle East, and risks are much more high due to political and also due to the nature of the business and the geographical political situation. So we are trying to focus to increase the resilience. We are trying to focus to increase the human capital ability to manage such risks. And we're also investing more in technologies that act smart and be able to take decisions to protect the business. Also, not only to protect, also to increase the utilization with less error.
Now, Ms. Al-Jenaa, I'd like to ask you if you would please tell us a little bit about the digital strategies that have been implemented across KOC's operations, and what were some of the challenges that you faced? How were you able to tackle them?
Thank you. KOC digital roadmap includes digital transformation implementation roadmap and transition plan for digitalization opportunity, which was designed in 4 phases. The first one is the align and discover. And in this phase, we are aiming to unify digital vision for the mother company and specifically the objective in KOC to realize the digital vision. The second phase, which is assess and benchmark. In this phase, we assess the digital maturity and readiness for transformation in KOC with peer benchmarking. The third one, evaluate and design. And here we evaluate the KOC impact on KOC's digital vision. And the last phase is planning. In order to shift and finalize the business case and identify the initiatives in a 3 years roadmap. So digital transformation is not only adopting the new software technologies and processes that are more efficient and automated than traditional business practices. It is an entirely new innovation way of doing something that is core to our business. So we faced a lot of challenges. One of them is lack of change management strategy, which we focused while we are creating our roadmap and strategy to have the change management strategy to be part of our strategy. And the second thing is the complex software and technology. As you know, here in KOC, we have a lot of legacy systems. So it's very difficult to be migrated to the cloud. It's not an easy task. Continue evolution of customer needs This is very important, and I think Dr. Reem is facing these challenges because we have a direct impact with the end user, and they keep changing their needs periodically. So, and we also, the most important challenge, lack of proper IT skills. And as you know, with the pandemic, I think this challenge across the whole world. We have a lack of resources in IT skills, and security concern, as you know, in terms of privacy or also it is very big challenge to any business. And the last thing is the budget constraints. As you know, with the pandemic also, we are forced to reduce or to cut the cost. So availing such cost to build a new environment and to build the cloud capabilities, it's not an easy task.
Absolutely. Now, Mr. Niyazi, I'd like to ask you about your thoughts on the recent advancements within the oil and gas industry, and how has digital transformation really impacted production to enable this progress?
Sure. See, the rapid progress of technologies such as data analytics, AI, sensors, IoT, edge computing, and control system offers oil and gas companies a chance to automate a high-cost, dangerous, or error-prone task. The highest impact automation opportunities in upstreams lie in production operations. And these opportunities lies in analysis and modeling of reservoirs, well production optimization, business operation process control automation, predictive and prescriptive maintenance. In our customers with AI, we have seen 20 to 30% decrease in non-productive time, invisible lost time, and 30 to 50% reduced well cost. Also, we have typically seen 30 to 50% increase uptime and 10 to 40% reduced maintenance costs. With the substantial production volumes, even a small improvement in production efficiencies can be a meaningful financial impact. As additional throughput translate directly into more revenues. A McKinsey benchmarking research shows that an improvement production efficiency by say 10% point can yield up to 220 million to 260 million bottom line impact on a single brownfield asset. Now, for the declining asset, automation could extend the field life in an economical viable way. Now, the potential could be very more significant for a greenfield assets where the required instrumentations can be included from the start as a part of the design. Now, emergence of the cognitive exploration and production platform are having major impact on the production yields. Now, as automation and AI application take over the tasks once performed by humans, some companies are multi-skilling employees to make the organization more agile, which is also indirectly helping in increasing the production yield. For instance, oil and gas companies have broadened the occupational scope of geoscientists using intensive multi-skilling trainings in topics like geology, geophysics, reservoir engineering, and geochemistry to develop a cadre of agile specialists. Slowly, we are moving toward programs like cities and data scientists, which enable all the employees to use data platform as a general purpose tools, like we use email today, and have already started in oil and gas companies, right? So all these are indirectly helping in the production yield improvement, in addition to the direct improvements which we have noticed in the industry.
Mr. Slayman, thank you, sir. Mr. Slayman, tell us why data really plays a critical role in the oil and gas sector, and how can automation, storage as a service, and AI solve the pressing data-related issues for these companies?
The data is growing, especially in the oil industry. It's growing every day, and the data is so huge that basically, if you need basically to have a mechanism to store the data and make it available all the time. So, for example, I just we spoke about the seismic data. seismic data is very important for exploration as well for excavation. So if the data, this amount of data that gives the topography of the land and you know what are the elements or the substance that exists in those layers, and therefore they know what right tools to use for excavation or the angle of excavation, etc. So all this data that being captured from the field are a huge amount of data. And basically, if we can basically get the data and build what we call the knowledge-based database system for the oil industry, this will help them first in improving in their operation, whether it's in downstream, upstreams, or even in the back end. Another area where the data is very important, basically in the refineries, to capture the maintenance data of all the equipment that are involved in refinery and capturing all the signals through the IoT network in order to capture those data and get information out of it to maintain and sustain the operations 24/7, 365 in order to maintain the production as well as enhance their production and also reduce. So this is another area which is very important, in capturing those data. That's why when I built and designed the model, I call it Kuwait Oil Knowledge Database System, is very important to capture all these data from front end, what I call it downstream, upstream, or the back end, in order to build a knowledge out of these data. And it helps also in the automation of the processes in the back office. So Safar mentioned, and Dr. Reem and Anaam, from technology perspective, our infrastructure, whether it's storage, is important because we have the data stored on the storage. That's why it's very important. The processing power required to run, those application or AI or whatever, processing required is very important, whether we have it on-prem or we have it off-prem, on the cloud. And the most important is to be able to maintain the environment between cloud, on-prem, and be able to decide, I want this data to be on the cloud, or I want this data to be on my prem. I want this application to run on Azure. I want this application to run on AWS, et cetera, et cetera. But in order to achieve this, it's very important from technology perspective that we have this, what we call OpenShift. It will enable the environment to build such a hybrid cloud environment. That's from storage, of course, perspective, from processing power perspective, and basically from virtualization, if you want. Also, it helps a lot in the virtualization of the environment. So that flexibility within the technology, it will enable the organization to make the right decision at the right time, to respond quickly, because we know the market is changing. The demands every day. We know what's happening in the world. Prices, oil price sometimes goes up, sometimes goes down. There is a lot of issues there. So the organization need to be agile. It need to respond, faster in that. The only way to do this is basically if they have the information, and the information exists within the data. And like I said, AI are built at the top of this data to capture the information in a manner where, again, we need to decide whether we want to use an AI as a tool, or AI as an assistant, or AI as a peer, or AI as a management. So those are the areas, and there is a huge, really, area of development, in different sectors within the oil industry. And like our team was mentioning, technology, we spoke, for example, about quantum computing. And quantum computing is one of the lead technology of IBM, where basically you can run a simulation module specifically for the seismic data, because this is very complicated and requires a lot of processing power. And imagine the quantum can be used to run such intelligence application against those data. But in a nutshell, that's how data is important, as well as AI, for the organization to respond quickly and on the required and be agile at the same time.
So I think the consensus here really is that data is crucial to all aspects of the entirety of the operations. We are running short on time, but I would just like to quickly ask Dr. Al-Shammari, as the head of gender, PMO, and diversity and inclusion of Kuwait's oil sector, and with more than 2 decades of experience as a working female in a very male-dominated industry of oil and gas in the Middle East region, how can you describe your experience as a woman and a leader, and what's your advice for other women in the energy sector to really thrive and to excel in the leadership positions?
Thank you so much, Ramya. I believe looking at your good self as a successful woman leader as well in your area, and I see Miss Al-Jenaa and many other successful women leaders who would support, surround ourselves with. Yes, oil and gas industry is a male-dominated, and that's for a fact. But having a very supportive leadership and having male alliance all around us actually has played a great success factors in making us today sitting in front of you and leading such critical roles into our journeys of our companies, and having the trust of such critical decision making in a critical company, contributing to more, as I said, 90% of our GDP. So that shows you the women empowerment that we have earned it through the commitment, through loyalty, through our continuous learning, unlearning, relearning journey into capturing and always sharpening our skills. I need also to highlight that with our D&I Council, Diversity and Inclusion Council, where I'm heading the gender PMO, we have looked at the as-is situation and assessment, and we were so much proud seeing that our women in the oil sector specifically has been thriving and excelling, and we have amazing role models and succeeding women figures in the oil sector. And this didn't come from from emptiness. It came from a society within Kuwait that has always empowered girls and women, that always gave us the support. My father worked in the downstream, and he was a leader by example. And growing up, looking at him, sponsoring always us, encouraging us, has also given us the leadership skills being, implanted with us since we were kids. Having a strong woman, mom who has raised us as a single mom after he has passed at early stages, had also showed us how women, even being moms, can actually, produce such women leaders. Now I'm a mother, I'm a leader. I have continued my studies in PhD while I'm working, having great mentors in the oil sector who was with me from the start, and I have great my colleagues who have seen me grow up. He had his vision, and this comes the mentorship, where really helps us a lot. My mentor was my first supervisor. He had his vision in making out of me a wild card. So he has made it very difficult for me, but he still injected me in all type of IT projects that actually at a later stage, and we know always God is the best planner, Allah that all of these challenges and pressure comes diamond. It really prepared us to these roles of leadership, to secure the cyber journey, to lead now digital transformation and all of that. So to conclude, my giveaways to our women in the oil and gas industry, or even other industries around within our region, is that to believe in yourself, to again rely on your ecosystem, your family, your supporters and sponsors, and of course the mentorship. Look around you. You have great role models. Just by looking at the screen, I see amazing role models in front of me who will always encourage me to keep on thriving and keep on delivering to this community. And again, giving and contributing to our younger generation, we have amazing potentials of girls who are promoting potential future leaders. So working together collectively to raise this young generation of women, giving them the trust that our parents and our leadership has given and passed it to them. I believe this is the way we can raise an empowered generation where we have great male allies with us here who will also contribute in making us continuously thrive and excel all together within this industry. Thank you, Rami, for this question.
Thank you, Dr. Al-Shammari, for sharing with us your very personal story, and congratulations on all of your success. And I believe that Mr. Sulaiman obviously feels very strongly about women empowerment as well, and we'd like to hear from you too, Mr. Sulaiman.
Women and men, working together in life. There is a reason for women. There is a reason for men to be in life. To do tasks. Men have specific skills, and women have additional more skills in different areas than men. And we believe, I believe personally, it's not only me, but we were talking about artificial intelligence, and there is something called social intelligence. And on the social intelligence, this is one of the areas where women basically supersede men in that area. And there was a study that was done by MIT that shows a woman in social intelligence can behave much better than men, in sense of communicating with other colleagues and making the right decision there. So this is one of the features of women that they are better than men in social intelligence. We always count on the women in that area basically, and we seek their always success and involvement in that, because like men, they are good in other areas, women are good in that area, and specifically social intelligence. I think this is a collaboration between women and men to succeed at the end of the day and have a better life for everyone.
Well, thank you for giving credit where it's due, and I believe we complement each other in that regard. Thanks so much. And with that, I'd like to wrap up our session today. Thank you so much to our panelists for sharing your insightful views on your businesses and your industry with us. And thank you to Forbes Middle East for organizing this panel today, and our exclusive partners, GBM Kuwait. We really do appreciate everyone's time. So a big thank you to all of our viewers who joined us this afternoon. Goodbye.